Hello and welcome back to the Dugout podcast. I'm your host, Alexander Cruikshanks. Today I'm joined by Laurie Finlayson, who's back, and Ethan Barlow after an action packed weekend of the SPFL. Um, let's just dive right in. We'll talk right off the bat. The big one, Celtic 3, Rangers nil at Parkhead. Um, Laurie, I'll come to you first. Just give us your overall thoughts on the game because I've got a lot to say. I'm sure Ethan has a lot to say from a positive standpoint. I think I'm going to lose the rag, but Laurie, you jump in first. Give us the neutral perspective.
Yeah, I'll give you something of a neutral perspective, having not particularly cared about the result. Anyone who doesn't know who I support, just look at my shirt at the moment. Um, but of course, it's just Celtic are just cut above Rangers, and it showed over the course of the 90 minutes yesterday. I mean, Rangers, to their credit, this might be the only bit of credit to get on this episode, actually started relatively well. Kind of, they seem to be getting in Celtic space a wee bit, but then pretty much as soon as Celtic put the ball in the back of the net for the first time, albeit it was disallowed, Celtic really kind of kicked on from there. The thing with Celtic is, and we've seen it for years, and we saw it under Postecoglou as well, particularly, and then under Rodgers this year, is they're just absolutely lethal on the counter. I mean, the minute you give the ball away to Celtic, you get the fear they're going to score. And the thing is, so far this season, they've been free scoring, and I think Celtic haven't conceded the goal yet this season. I mean, Casper Schmeichel's had very little to do. I think I saw him make two or three saves yesterday, and that was it. Um, but just not a good one if you're a Rangers fan. If you're Celtic, very, very encouraging. Get that first Old Firm win in such a convincing manner.
Yeah, definitely. Right, I'll start off by giving because I'm giving credit to Celtic for how good they were because I'm gonna go through the Rangers team and just tear them apart. But I'll just start off with Celtic, top to bottom, brilliant, and it reflects how big the gap is. Um, just the fact that I thought I was actually really impressed with them, how quick they're onto loose balls, and I thought one thing that I picked out that was really like I don't know if I only it's just like a niche thing. So there, if Celtic were putting together a move and they played a ball that was maybe a bit to the side of their player trying to get there, they'd get there, no bother. If Rangers play a loose ball, Celtic are on top of it and they've won it back. They're just that yard sharper. They're so quick to react to loose balls or mistakes. If Rangers if they were trying to put together a move and it wasn't inch perfect, they'd win it back. I'll just Casper Schmeichel, not a lot to do, made a good save from Tavernier when the game was already done. He was I think I saw he posted about his win, and he said, I think in his original post, he said happy for my first Old Firm win or something, and he got swarmed by everyone telling him it's Glasgow Derby. So I thought that was quite funny. But yeah, he's a quality goalkeeper. I'm sure we'll get to see more of him throughout the season, but so far I think he's got the easiest job in Scotland. Um, Left back, I thought Greg Taylor was excellent. So quick to everything. He was sharper than Cherny. He was going forward, getting down that left side, causing a lot of problems. Liam Scales was brilliant, winning everything in the air, getting in front. Dessers couldn't hold up anything. Carter Vickers was good as always, Mr. Consistent. Alistair Johnson was really good getting down that side with the runs. Yeah, Cal McGregor was good. Good goal from him. She's third of the season. Obviously, big deflection, but still, it was good for him. Rio Tati was good. Paolo Bernardo, I think Ethan will talk about him. And in excess later on because I think Ethan he agrees with a lot of people that Bernardo was the best player on the park the other day. Just just controlling it and like his energy, winning the ball back. He's aye. Kyogo was excellent. I thought in terms of tracking. I think there was one where he lost the ball where Rangers are on the break. And then all of a sudden, you just see Kyogo in there, like slide tackling and winning it back, and then getting back up the pitch. And I'm like, that's like the difference between these two sides: the desire, the energy. You gonna say something, Laurie?
Just quickly on that, other than yesterday, I've never seen Kyogo do that.
Neither.
And that's not me trying to accuse Kyogo of being lazy or anything. He's not. But like that was like, proper like defensive recovery tackle. I've never seen that from Kyogo. Would that be
Yeah,
fair to
yeah,
say? Just quickly, like Kyogo never does that.
No, 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 not as like, obviously Kyogo's a great presser of the ball, but that run back was he doesn't really need to do that. He's the striker, but he does do that, and I think it results to the third goal. Am I right? Um,
I'm not sure off the top of my head.
maybe a
Good
different
time.
maybe a different phase of play I'm talking about, but yeah, he doesn't need to do that. But as you said, that's maybe just the difference in the two teams at the moment, the spirits of the team and the belief and just the overall just wanting to win, really.
Mm.
Yeah, I'd
Something
agree.
Rangers can
I'd
learn
agree with
from,
that.
eh?
Hey, Laurie?
Something Rangers can learn from, eh?
You
Say
should
that.
hope so. You should hope so. Nicholas Kuhn continuing his great form, um, just causing havoc. Jeff Daly's a terrible defender. I think you can see that um, with the way he faced them up. I think it was so. I was shouting at the TV. Nicholas Kuhn. He can go direct and he can go to the byline, but obviously he's always looking at cut inside. I swear every time Jefty was trying to defend him and jockey him, he was showing him onto his left. Like I don't know if I'm the only one to notice that, but it just looked like he was showing him onto his left every time. And I'm like, what are you doing?
I couldn't see that, but I didn't really pick up on that. But he didn't give Kuhn much problems, Jeffy, and it was quite an easy afternoon for Kuhn. Maybe
Yeah,
the early yellow, which I think was a bit harsh on Jeffy. Maybe
yeah,
not my disadvantage, but it still just never get close enough to him.
yeah. Um, and Dyson Maeda was brilliant again. I don't know. He's always been really good in these games, but see, just from watching Celtic this season, he looks like better than he's been. I don't know. I've not seen Celtic as much as you, Ethan, but he looks a step above what he's performed at.
Possibly, I think he's just consistent. He's just always going to give his all, really, and maybe he lacks in that quality to. There's a few times, one that comes to mind where he had the chance to put in a first time ball across to Kyogo and he fluffs his lines and gives it straight to Tavernier, but you always know he's going to be chasing Tavernier back up the other byline to just not give Tavernier a minute, and he never gives Tavernier a minute, and is one of
Yeah,
your probably maybe not this season, but in past one of your best attacking threats. He nullifies them for most of the game.
yeah, definitely. Right now, I've gave Celtic their credit as they were due because they were excellent. Now on to Rangers. Um, Jack Butland for Kyogo's. It was a great strike, but Kyogo's goal position was awful. I don't know why. Why is he so far across? If he's in the middle, the goalie might get to it. You don't know, but it's just it would have given him a much better chance. And yeah, other than that, I think he was all right. Someone posed a question to me: would you take Liam Kelly over Jack Butland right now? And I was like, "What? No, what are you talking about? One mistake, and you want to chuck him? No, I wouldn't take Liam Kelly over Jack Butland right now. But it has that certainly doesn't help his case. But that's the only thing I can think off the top of my head in his entire Rangers career that he's probably done wrong. so I wouldn't chuck him for that. But the rest of the team uh, could maybe answer for things. Jeffy, like I've already mentioned, poor. Tavernier, just there was a couple of moments where we looked like we were getting together good attacks. I've never really had this problem with Tavernier. I thought the entire game his first touch was terrible. It was always heavy and it just give the ball back and passing up on opportunities that we maybe could have got something. Robin Crawford was awful. He looked out of his depth. He looked like he was struggling to deal with the runs. Lightweight, he wasn't really good in the air. I thought John Souttar was okay. Had a really good like sort of block slash tackle to steer it away from a ball across, a really threatening ball across. Yeah, uh, sorry, I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, John Souttar was okay. John Sterling was all right. He did his job. You're not really expecting him to control the middle, but I thought he did what he had to do on the defensive side of things fairly well. Conor Barron was terrible. He looked so out of his depth. I don't know what has happened to him, or it's just the fact that he's playing a midfield that's he's not played against something. Well, he obviously has played against them, but not like in that sense where he needs to go toe to toe with them. And he just looked so out of his depth. Diamande looked like he wasn't bothered. He shrunk, I thought. Um, yeah, Tom Lawrence I thought was okay when he came on, but that game's done, so not a lot to talk about. Dessers just getting dominated by the two centre halves. Tierney nowhere. I'm actually really disappointed because I believe he can do more than that. I don't know. Uh, it's tough to talk about this because it's just really frustrating, and I don't see to be honest, that I don't see a way where it's different in December, January either. I feel like it could be the same, and it could be a humiliating defeat at Ibrox. I won't jump too far ahead, but it's not looking good. Ravi Matondo was really poor. He comes off injured. McCausland was bad. Hamza was okay. Hamza Agamani when he came on. Obviously, the game's done by that point. Um, but I just terrible top to bottom, and it's the same errors and the same sort of mistakes. Well, granted, I think this time Celtic were just far and away the better team. I think they finally put together that thing where they're excellent in the first half. They were excellent in the second half as well. They put it together and they just dominated Rangers. But I don't. It's like the same, and from the manager as well, going at it the same way. Do you? I don't know what. Do you try a five next time? Like just to stop those runs and give a bit of solidity. Can they play like that? I don't know, but I feel like something needs to change the next time we come up against Celtic because it's the same old story and I'm getting sick of it, and I'm a lot of Rangers fans are getting sick of it.
Yeah,
That's an
I think.
interesting point, mate. Sorry,
No, no,
I was
on you
just
go, Laurie. On you go.
I was just thinking you can give your take on it as well, Ethan. I kind of think, Alex, what you say about a back five is is interesting. I mean, if you were to suggest that, like probably in your well now, but I kind of think that that Rangers fans would maybe go against that and say it's too defensive. But I'll be honest, Alex, I'm on your side because at this point I'm just trying not to lose and trying to keep a bit of decency. I mean, playing a back five at Ibrox, how do you think that would go down with the sport?
See, to be honest, I think that they would maybe react purely when it came out. If they won, they wouldn't care. I don't.
Yeah,
It's the same if you all football fans like that. They don't care if as long as you win. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
and as long right, there's the deeper problems in the club with the structure and that. But right now this season, they can't do much about that. They can't do much about the transfers. It's done right. So they just need to find a way to win and get back into this title race. I don't even know. It might not even be a race. It might be done by January. You never know. But it's like I said, and I wouldn't care as long as they won. I wouldn't care if they played five at the back every week against like St Johnstone or I wouldn't care as long as they won games. It's just,
Yeah,
Fair enough.
I'm just getting, like I said, I'm just getting sick of it.
yeah. I think just to add to that five in the back thing, I think everyone that has watched that game yesterday can see that if the Rangers were to go man to man with Celtic, Celtic have better players, and if Celtic really play as they did yesterday, Celtic will beat Rangers 9 times out of 10. If Rangers are going to beat Celtic or compete with Celtic in these games, Clement needs to change something.
Yeah,
Um,
they need to
I
be
think,
smarter. They need to be
yeah,
smarter. They need to be tactically better because they can't just go man for man with them. Because
yeah,
Celtic are faster, they're better players, they're fitter, they're sharper. They're just they want it more. They've got more desire, more intensity. It's just everything that Brendan Rodgers has instilled in them, and they look like an unstoppable machine this season. And Claremont needs to be smarter. If we're talking about being smart in games, teams that have you outmatched man for man, you look at Giovanni Van Bronckhorst in the European run, played five in the back in a lot of those games. Oh, granted, he wasn't good in Celtic games either, um, except I think beat Celtic in the semi final of the Scottish Cup. But a lot of it, but he didn't do very well in the league. But you need to, yeah, against teams that are better than you, you need to be smarter in how you play. And a lot of Rangers fans don't like hearing that because it's supposed to be, I will go toe to toe, that sort of thing. But that's just not the way it is. Celtic are better right now, clearly, and Rangers need to be smarter.
yeah. I think there was a time the time when Rangers had that team that won the Invincible League and Celtic were really awful, and there was a gulf. Um, when Ange Postecoglou came in, you could see. I think Celtic fans, not everyone was expecting Celtic to win the league that year, but you could see a clear kind of way that Celtic were trying to play, and all the fans got behind it. Where I don't know about yourselves, but I cannot see a clear kind of style of play that Clement's trying to implement on his team. And
Nah, neither, to be honest.
Not at all.
if it's not getting across to the players and they've not got a clear style of play, then they really stand no chance. I think at right back as well with Tavernier, I heard a lot of people saying about um, are you going to start him against Maeda again? Because it seems like it's just going to be a formality at this point that Maeda's just going to get the better of him most times. And if you can see it keep happening, then surely you've got to make a change. Maybe someone who can maybe keep up with Maeda physically, although that is obviously very difficult.
I think
But
Dujon
yeah,
Sterling would do okay
yeah, that
against.
was a lot of
Uh,
people were suggesting him. But I think you've got if you see a clear battle that you're losing every time, then you've got to make that change. And Clement
yeah.
just he doesn't.
Or
I don't know
or
if he
make the
doesn't see it
tactical
or
change and play Tavernier
yeah,
at wing back in a five or
yeah,
something. Because it's the same old story every time. Um, Dominated in the middle of the park, pinned back in the wings. The defenders just all over the shop, except for John Suter was the only one out of that defence. John Suter and Dujon Sterling were the only players I would somewhat give pass marks there. The rest of them absolute shambles.
yeah. And for Clement, I don't know if it's delusion coming from him or just trying to protect his players, but he keeps going on about the stats and shots on target. But you can clearly see that if you watch the game, Celtic were by far the better team, and Rangers can have no complaints about it.
I think
Just wasn't their
Clement,
day.
yeah, I think Clement he does try to protect these players quite a bit.
Yeah,
And he does weird press conferences for Clement a lot of the time, and that's just the way he is. But I don't think he's under any delusion the gap because if you look at his record, he's a good manager. He's done good things, and he won't be sitting there going, we're all right. He definitely won't be doing that. So yeah, I think maybe it's just him trying to protect the players, like you said. But it's just, I'm done. I can't. I'll end up going on forever about how bad it is. Have you guys got anything else to add that you want to talk about? Ethan, Celtic's performance in particular, any players?
Yeah, I think you touched on the whole starting lineup. So I think a lot of the players that were the best for Celtic were the kind of players that there's been players in their position signed that are expected to kind of overtake them in the pecking order. I think Taylor, Scales, and Paulo Bernardo were the three kind of unlikely heroes for Celtic on the day. Obviously, you've got Arne Engels coming in for a record fee. He'll be expected to take over Bernardo's place, but he's not going to take over Bernardo's place if Bernardo's putting in performances like that. Same with Scales and Taylor. Um, and for Celtic, the gulf is quite massive at the moment. I think if you even look at the benches, I think some of the stuff Celtic were bringing off the bench would probably go straight into the Rangers starting 11, and that's a worrying thing for Rangers. And I think they've just got to start doing things the right way across the whole club. I feel like from the top to the bottom. I think they might not win the league this year, might not win the league the next year, but they've got to at least be on some trajectory to instead of just what it is to now.
Yeah, definitely. It's just horrible mismanagement, top to bottom. I think we should move on to other games unless Laurie, you've got anything to add onto the
No,
onto the conversation.
no, I think it's time we can move on to our games and put out your misery, Alex.
Yeah, in fact, I appreciate that because I might have come across as all doom and gloom for this episode, but it's tough to talk about and it's just frustrating to watch how bad your team is. Um, it's just it's not
To
good.
be fair, Alex, less than 24 hours have passed. It'll still be a bit raw.
Yeah, I'm one of the guys that tries not to let it affect me like in my normal life, but I've been thinking about it a lot, and it's just how bad it was. It's just humiliating. But right, I'll move on because I'm just gonna keep bringing the mood down. But anyway, right, we'll move on to the other games this weekend. A lot of goals going on. We'll talk about Saturday's games. Dundee 2-2 draw with St Mirren. Dundee, I believe, are still undefeated in the Premiership.
Yep,
Yes,
Off
you're
the
they
right.
top of
are.
my head, yeah. Um, yeah, they've won one and oh no, sorry. Oh yeah, they've won one and drawn three. Um, and it's yeah, Dundee scoring a lot of goals, but they seem to have started conceding a few. And St Mirren are having a bit of a weird season as well. Um, but Curtis Main with a goal, which is you don't say that too often, do you? And yeah, it's going to be an interesting season for these two teams. And Dundee, obviously, free scoring, but like I said, looks like they're starting to concede. I'll just come to you, Laurie. Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that's very much similar to last season for Dundee. I mean, maybe they're a
Hmm.
bit more free scoring this year, but if you look at Dundee last season, despite finishing in the top six and doing really well, they just have one of the worst defensive records in the league. I could be wrong, and I might be doing Tony Docherty and Dundee a disservice here.
No,
I'm
I think you're
pretty
right.
sure
Yeah, I
they had
think
the
you're right. I think they
second
had the
worst in the
second
league.
worst or the worst.
Levy, yeah. I think it was second worst, with only Levy being worse than them when it comes to defending. So it seems kind of similar to last season, although that's not taken away from the start they've had. I mean, being unbeaten after what 4 games and then scoring six, was it six against Airdrie in the League Cup?
Yep.
It's not to be sniffed at. And for St Mirren, it's they have a tough start to the season. Of course, they've been kind of trying to juggle, domestic football and European stuff as well. I kind of think maybe we'll see truly where St Mirren are after upcoming international break, to be honest. But yes, St Mirren are a weird one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd agree with that. Sorry, Ethan. On you go.
No, yeah, I think at the start of the kind of close early on the season, you could see St Mirren's performances against Valor in the qualifying. I think they looked really good, and maybe that kind of Thursday Sunday shift with a tight squad, same as Kilmarnock's, caught up to them, and the performances have dropped because they did start the season well. But yeah, but I think that both teams will still be in the mix for top six come the end of the season. Yeah, I think both teams will get better than they have been so far.
Yeah,
Although Dundee
definitely.
have been impressive.
Yeah.
And of course, I forgot to mention Dundee, of course, going to be without their captain, Luke McCowan, of course, away to Celtic, which,
Yeah.
yeah, a big loss for them. But I'm sure Tony Docherty will be able to sort something out there as he's done so well in charge there so far.
Yeah, and you got £1 million for him as well. So fair
Yeah,
play to Dundee. They're getting £1 million for a guy who was out of contract at the end of the season.
yeah,
Kilmarnock, take note, just saying. But yeah, £1 million not bad at all.
Yeah, I think Luke McCowan's a good signing as well, to be fair. For Celtic, he's going to add a bit of depth and he knows the league and he'll maybe he won't always play, but he'll be a great player to have there. It's just a smart signing from Celtic, I
yeah,
think. And
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Even
spoke.
to touch
Sorry.
on the game. Oh, sorry, just going. Sorry to go back to the game yesterday, but even the game yesterday, I think he was a lot more involved than he was a lot more involved than Arne Engels when he came on.
Yeah,
Um,
Arne
yeah,
Engels kind of didn't really do anything, did he? He got booked and he was sort of
yeah,
just about, but
yeah,
I'm sure we'll see more from him as well.
yeah,
But yeah, two really good signs for Celtic, and it'll be a big miss for Dundee, but they don't look like they're missing them too much yet, especially going forward. Now on to St Johnstone, who hosted Motherwell, and Motherwell came away with a 2-1 victory. With a very late goal from B. Moses, who looks like he's in good form this season. Obviously, Dan Casey opened the scoring early. Kimpioka um, equalised, but Jack Sanders was sent off in the 96th minute for St Johnstone. Could they have a bit of a discipline problem arising as well? You know, with the last week's Sidibe, three handballs from him, and this and this week, obviously Jack Sanders getting sent off as well. Motherwell look look like they're starting to pick up after a poor start, and it looks like they're putting a good run of form together. But yeah, very interesting. St Johnson, I don't know what's happening with them because when I've watched them, they look good, but they just can't seem to put it together at all.
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment, Alex, but maybe not being able to put it together. I mean, based on the highlights, it looks not too bad. Of course, Jack Sanders, ill discipline. I mean, both of the tackles that led to him getting sent off were on Tony Watt, who of course is a much maligned figure in Scottish football and even amongst Motherwell fans. So he basically put Tony Watt up in the air twice. So Big Jack knew what he was getting. Um, and as you say about the whole discipline problem thing, of course, as Hamas and eBay like last week, dear oh dear. Has his ban been extended for that? Surely, but I mean, on the whole discipline problem thing, I mean, other than Hamas and eBay, the one common denominator appears to be my team, Kilmarnock. I mean, when you think about it, obviously
Yeah,
we've had a discipline problem of late. I mean, yesterday aside, although yesterday we probably could have got a man sent off as well, but more on that a little bit later.
yeah. I was gonna say, I think ever since St Johnstone played Kilmarnock, they've borrowed Kilmarnock's form and their disciplinary issues, for the looks of it. Um, they've lost all three games, and then they've had two red cards in three games. So yeah, it's kind of went a wee bit sour for St Johnstone. Obviously, they were thrashed by Rangers last week. And then the week before, they lost in the cup to who was it again? The League Two team,
Uh,
Who are you talking about?
St Johnstone.
no,
Oh, no, that's Ross County.
Ross
That was Ross
County,
County.
Ross County, Ethan.
Yeah,
No,
I was gonna say I was a bit like a bit confused there.
no, because both of them have lost the last like 3 games, so I got them mixed up. Apologies to
No, you're fine. I was just
my
when you
brother
said they were
Andy.
thrashed by Rangers last week, and I was like, huh? When did
No,
we
thank you
thrash
for
St
correcting
Johnstone?
me. I got them mixed up. We'll get on the Ross County in a minute.
Aye, definitely. But yeah,
But yeah,
Motherwell, positive for Motherwell fans. It's looking good for them this season. So
yeah,
after you tipped them to go down, like they took that
yeah.
personally, and big win the other week. They progressed in the cup obviously against Kilmarnock, and they've won again here. I think that's 3 weeks on the bounce. If you're a
Yeah.
Motherwell fan, you'll be living life right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's gonna keep getting. I'm gonna keep getting told that I put Motherwell in last place. But yeah, they've done well. They're up to 5th now, so yeah, they are looking really decent. And yeah, they're on a good run of form. St Johnstone, unlike the opposite, in a bad run of form, 3 losses. Yeah, so I think St Johnstone, as we predicted, will be one of the teams down that end if the other big names in the league, Kilmarnock included, get their act together.
Well, you've stayed with one of the big teams in the league. I'll take that.
Yeah, based off last season's performance, yeah.
Yeah, I'd
I'll
agree
take
with that
that.
as well. One of the bigger sides with expectation. Um, right, on to Ross County, who were thrashed by Rangers last week and got beat by Spartans in the cup. Um, now they lose in the 98th minute thanks to Kevin Nisbet back in Scottish football, back with a bang. And Aberdeen continue their run of form. Are Aberdeen in the title race this season?
Well,
No.
Alex, it's probably a question for you.
What did you say,
Honestly,
Laurie?
it's probably a question for you, mate.
I don't know. They've been good, so maybe.
I've got a question to pose to you. Do you think Aberdeen and Celtic starts based off both teams' brilliance, or do you think it's also a mix of how poor a few of the teams have started this season, especially some of the big hitters?
I think it's a mix.
Yeah,
I think overall the league doesn't look good this season.
yeah,
The quality's quite poor.
yeah,
Just from watching a lot of highlights and games and extended highlights on sports scene and whatnot, it just the quality of the league looks fairly poor this season. But take nothing away from Aberdeen and Celtic, they've both been brilliant. And Aberdeen continue their 100% record, which for a lot of Aberdeen fans hasn't been much. There hasn't been much to shout about of late, but they look the real deal this season, and with Kevin Nisbet in the door, that's a big player for them.
yeah,
Yeah, I think can I add on to that? I do mostly agree with what you say, Alex, with regard to the quality of the league. It does look a bit kind of ropey this year, as it did last year, to be fair. And as for Aberdeen, despite maybe not having the most difficult set of fixtures, I have been quite surprised at how well they've started. Under a new manager in Jimmy Tulin, who's obviously trying to implement a philosophy, and he's done so really, really effectively in a short space of time, it seems. And some of the new signings, I know the Don's faithful are really warming to quickly. Of course, they have had that little bit of money to spend. Having sold Bojan Miovski for what was it, £7 million, something like that, to Girona.
Yeah,
But Aberdeen, we'll see if they last. I mean, I've seen people try and almost draw comparisons between Jimmy Tulin and Ange Postecoglou when they arrived in Scotland. Maybe not in terms of the quality of manager or coach, but just in terms of the kind of breath of fresh air that it's brought to Scottish football. Because Tulin, like Postecoglou, is very much a fresh perspective, not one of these well-kent faces, you could say, that always gets banded about Scotland and England.
yeah. I think, as you said, the fixture run's obviously been quite favourable for them to start, but they can only beat what teams are in front of them, and they've won every game, including the Premier Sports Cup group. So you can't really knock them. They've done everything that they've needed to do. Obviously, it wasn't the most convinced performance at Dingwall, but they got there in the end, and that's what good teams do. And Nisbet will be hoping to build on that, and hopefully um, score more goals like he did in his spells at Hibs.
Yeah, I think that's a good signing for Aberdeen. He's not done too well at Millwall, but if he can keep fit, I think he'll be important for them definitely in this season. Uh, right, next we will go to Tynecastle, where Hearts continue to disappoint their fans. Dundee United continue to exceed all expectations. They win 1-0 with a goal from Ross Graham, of all people, again. I think he's got a couple of goals this season for them.
Yep.
And Dundee United are looking good, but Hearts are in real trouble, and I think Stephen Naismith is in real trouble as well.
Yep, I think the boos were loud heard at full time, and I think Hearts just aren't good enough under Naismith. I think the backing he got in the summer, the players they signed, some of the best players in the league from the season before. They really should be nailing down that third position, and they're miles away from that at the moment. You think how far they are behind Aberdeen. It's really not looking good for them to
Yeah.
start, and I think the point they got at home to Rangers is what's keeping Naismith in a job at the moment. But I don't think he really hasn't got long left. And yeah, credit to Dundee United though. They've started the season brilliantly. I think all of us had them to not be in that kind of threat to go down, but didn't have them certainly sitting third place. So fair enough to them, and they
Yeah,
look really good under Jim
I,
Goodwin this season.
Hearts
Yeah.
second bottom right now in the league. They've conceded 7 goals across the 4 games, only scored twice. Only one team is worse than them defensively, and only 2 teams are worse than them going forward. So it's not those 2 teams in question are Ross County and Kilmarnock. Kilmarnock obviously have the worst defensive record in the league as well. Sorry, Laurie, I'm sure we'll talk about your team in a minute, but yeah, it's not looking good at all for Hearts. And if I was Stephen Naismith, I'd be worried.
Yeah.
If it was Naismith, I would be worried. But the thing is, his job might be safer than you might think because I'm quite sure he was given a new contract at the end of last season. Plus, well, when it comes to Hearts, I genuinely think Hearts are quite a well-run club. But the one thing Hearts never seem to get right, and always seem to kind of gamble on, is managerial appointments. When you think who Hearts have had as managers, Stephen Naismith kind of got given the job when Robbie Nielsen was sacked, kind of out of the blue, from what I remember. He was given it temporarily. And then there was this whole co-manager thing with him and Frankie McAvoy because Naismith didn't have his UEFA Pro license at the time. But then if you cast your mind further back, so before Nielsen was given a second chance in the Hearts dugout, who was before that? I want to say Daniel Stendhal, who did a decent job at Barnsley in the EFL and then was absolute rubbish for Hearts, and then he went down. And then before that, we're talking Craig Levein, who's probably been in charge of Hearts most times we can count. But like, and if you go beyond him, it's Nielsen again, Ian Cathro, and then Nielsen. And then before that, you're talking stuff like Gary Locke and names like that. Hearts never seem to get a managerial appointment right. And Naismith getting a comfortable third place last season was probably as close as they got to that, albeit whether Naismith's actually a manager is another debate. I don't doubt for a second he's a good coach, but whether he's a manager, well, I'll be honest, I'm not so sure. But I don't know if the Hearts board will bite the bullet and sack him.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with what you said. I don't know if he is a manager, and with probably you could maybe argue by far that apart from obviously Celtic and Rangers, the third best squad in the league. He should be doing a lot better than how they have done. And to start the season, they didn't qualify for the Europa League. I know it was a tough draw against Poulsen, but they were definitely a team that, if Hearts are on form, they can maybe beat out the cup, the League Cup already, and second bottom of the league. It doesn't get much worse than that really to start the season. Um, yeah, but all credit goes to Dundee United. They've been brilliant so far.
Yeah, definitely. Dundee United fans will be living life right now. Hearts fans will be wishing that we could just wake up from a bad dream. But unfortunately, it's not a bad dream, it's reality. Speaking of bad dreams, on to Kilmarnock, who get their first point of the season late with Bruce Anderson. However, it's still not looking good for Derek McInnes. I feel like he's earned himself time. However, Laurie, I know it's tough to talk about this, but see if it just continues on like this, if you don't start picking up results, do you see uh, Derek McInnes departing the club this year?
To be honest, I don't see him departing the club. I do see if he keeps it going like this, I do see the support turning on him a bit again, as they did at one point, and now it's kind of turned around. But I don't see him actively leaving because again, maybe a bit like Hearts and Naismith, but slightly different scenario. Kelly have maybe backed themselves into a corner, so Derek McInnes is under contract until 2027. So I don't think our board would actually, well, relieve him of his duties as such. I think if he was to leave, he would have to walk. And I don't see
Do,
him walking. He always seems fairly committed to
do you
us.
think they can't afford to pay him if they were to sack him?
I think probably not. If we did do it, it would be some sort of mutual agreement, I would think.
Right.
I
Although
think.
Okay.
I very
Sorry.
much think that we've hopefully not got to that stage. And I mean, the game yesterday, I mean, I've seen highlights. I wasn't there to watch it in the flesh, but I've seen highlights and I've heard plenty of people's opinions and on the Kelly view, of course. But it's been a
Plug.
tough one. I mean, it was described by one of my Kelly view colleagues, or the first half was described by one of my Kelly view colleagues as eye-bleeding garbage. Is what the first half was. And I think that applies to both teams. To be fair, I mean, Hibs have looked no not a great team either. But I think I think we got a bit of luck, but I think the way Derek McInnes was talking, the point was maybe fair enough. But we got a bit of luck towards the end, getting the late penalty, and obviously a first goal for Kelly for Bruce Anderson. So that's a positive to cling to, as well as a point on the board. Plus, obviously, we bowed out with Europe, albeit quite graciously against Copenhagen. So hopefully now that the European football is out of the way, we can, get, back on track properly after the international break, albeit we don't have easy fixtures coming up with St Mirren and then both Dundee clubs. So it's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope Kilmarnock get back on track as well because it's not a good time for to be a Kilmarnock fan. It's really, and I think just the fact that you're relying on a late penalty to get past a Hibs side who, outside of Kilmarnock, Hearts, and maybe Ross County, look like the one of the worst sides in the league this season. It's I think it's just that it's an indictment of where Kilmarnock are right now on the pitch. But hopefully they can get the players back that they need and get settled and start the season properly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think to maybe give a little bit more. Derek McInnes probably has a little bit more credit in the bank compared to your likes of David Gray and Stephen Naismith, maybe because the amount of players Kelly brought in the window. Obviously, Hibs, I think, signed the most in the Premiership. I'd be surprised if they didn't. And obviously, Hearts brought in some of the league's best players, along with some other players they brought in too, fullbacks as well, I remember. But I think Kilmarnock will turn it around. I think Darren McInnes will get a hold of the team, and they've got that burden of Europe off their shoulders now, and they can just focus domestically. Of course, they're out of the cup as well, so it's all going to be focused on the league until the Scottish Cup starts, and I think they can claw it back. For Hibs, we've not really talked about them yet, but the same as Kilmarnock, they're in the same kind of scenario as Kilmarnock. It's really, really poor start. Not in the League Cup, same as Kilmarnock, winless from their opening 5 league games. With the amount of players they've signed, and they've signed some good quality, brought some good quality player in. I know David Gray is obviously a club legend, but he's really not started well at Hibs, and it's a worrying time for Hibs fans.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it definitely is a worrying type. Sorry, Laurie, you have something to say.
yeah, and it was just something that Ethan touched on towards the end of what you were saying there. Of course, with David Gray being a club legend for Hibs, cup winning hero, or Sir David Gray, as they tend to call him in Leaf. I mean, how far does that sort of credit take you as a manager? Because if he if he does poorly and gets sacked, which is looking like it could quite feasibly, happen, because I mean, for Hibs, he was a cheap option in the summer. Don't be fooled. Um, if it ends badly for him, you actually feel for David Gray that this kind of tarnish that reputation. Albeit, I don't know if Hibs fans may be okay with that, because I mean, it was their first Scottish Cup win in, I want to say, over 100 years. So maybe they'd be okay with it.
Yeah, that's the thing with kind of with the legends is taking up manager roles. It does slightly tarnish reputations. You think of Neil Lennon at Celtic, of course, he maybe should have just went and left when it wasn't going well, but he didn't, and that turned it sour. And you can see maybe a same thing happening at Hibs. You don't want the legends of the club and the fans having a feud. It's never nice. But yeah, it could get ugly at Hibs. It definitely could.
Yeah. Right. So that's it for the SPFL. Let's talk about Europe. Obviously, the draw was last week. Uh, Rangers, Celtic, and Hearts all in different competitions. We'll start off with Celtic in the Champions League. We'll just come to you, Ethan. What are your feelings on the draw? A few really tough games in there.
Yeah, a few tough games, but a few winnable games, I would say. As I said earlier, I don't know if I'm slightly blinded with the quality of the league so far as to how Celtic have been so dominant. But I think the squad looks good, and I think Celtic can really have a go this year. And I think they should have a go this year. I think there's no excuses to not make that top 24 placing. With some of the fixtures, I believe I seen a metric that said that Celtic had the easiest draw in the Champions League. So um, there's no excuses, especially the home games against Bruges, who have started the season quite poorly, as have Slovan Bratislava and Young Boys. So there should be 3 easy wins there. Not easy wins because every team, obviously, in the Champions League is there by merit, but by a club of Celtic standard, they should be picking up maximum points from that, and then hopefully getting points elsewhere to push on. But yeah, I'm excited for the new format. It looks really exciting. All the games being on at the same time in the last day I'm sure that'll be really entertaining. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's so it's the 32, isn't it? And I think it's different in the Europa, maybe not the Europa, the conference, but it's the
Yeah,
32, and it's the top 24 teams are like the teams that are still in the competition, and then it's from ninth to 24th playing a playoff. The top eight go through to
yeah.
and then they play in a
Just
playoff. And
Sorry, I
then
was going to say I think it's 36 in total now.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I
oh,
you're
didn't
right,
know
Ethan.
that.
It's 36 teams, but everything else you said was spot on.
sorry.
Yeah,
And then obviously the winner of that playoff will go through. So it's interesting. A lot more games as well. But yeah, Celtic definitely have a task on their hands, but there's winnable games in there, and they could be in that playoff. Definitely, I'd say. But yeah, and give something the Celtic fans have been looking for a long time, just that little bit of success in Europe. Right. I'll just quickly jump on to Rangers. A really tough draw in the Europa League for Rangers. Home games against Tottenham, Lyon, Union Saint-Gilloise, and Bucharest. Really tough, all of them. Tottenham especially. Postecoglou back at Ibrox. Thought I was done with him, tormenting me, but he's coming back. And then away games to Man United, Olympiacos, Malmo, and Nice. Um, I don't I don't know if I'm just based on the overall like quality sort of evenness. Is that a harder draw than Celtic's Champions League?
it's definitely comparable.
Yeah,
Definitely
it's
comparable.
very common.
I
Because
think.
Like,
sorry,
I was going to say, I
like,
think the quality of the more difficult teams is maybe a little slightly more difficult in Celtic's group. I think the overall kind of quality across the 8 teams is probably more difficult in Rangers group. Yeah, or not group. Sorry, fixture list.
yeah,
yeah,
I'd say that. Sorry, Laurie, keep jumping in front of
Landon,
you.
it's okay. Landon to Premier League team is tough, of course. Spurs probably does seem harder than Man United at the minute, but landing to Premier League teams, that's really hard going. But as for the format across the three UEFA competitions, I actually really like it, at least on paper. And I think if anything, it probably helps the Scottish teams because I feel like, well, depending on the way the fixtures land, it's feasible for a Scottish team to at least get into the playoff round and finish in that top 24.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think Rangers could take points from a few teams in there, if they were on their game. But if they play anything like they played the other day, we'll get battered by every single one of them. Uh, but yeah, so the last team in Europe is Hearts. Hearts getting drawn against a few teams. Kilmarnock actually played. Um, I think Copenhagen and Cercle Bruges in their crop of teams, and
Yeah.
a few chances for them to avenge Kelly. So Laurie, will just come to you. It's a competition you could have been in, but how do you think Hearts will fare in this?
I mean, I'm actually a little bit undecided because I would say straight away, come on, my team are maybe unlucky not to sneak into this league phase for the Conference League. However, I would have said maybe before the season started, the Hearts would maybe be in a good position for the Conference League to maybe try and get something. And then based on a league form, just now you really don't know. As for the teams the Hearts have been given, as you said, they've got away trips to Bruges and Copenhagen. Obviously, trying to, do that a little bit better than Kilmarnock, albeit I think Hearts could give both of those sides a game, having seen how Kilmarnock fared against them. Um, and I remember saying at the time that I think Circle had actually have a similar standing to the Hearts of last season, I'll make that clear. They have got a home tie against Heidenheim, the German side as well. One of last year's kind of Bundesliga surprise packages, so they've got that to look forward to, and they've got a home game which I think Hearts will very much be targeting against a Moldovan team, CS Petra Cup of Moldova. So I imagine that's one that the Jambos will be targeting, but it's going to be tough for Hearts. But I mean, who knows? If Hearts are playing to the level they can, you never know. If the way they've been so far this season, they're probably going to be heading home.
Yeah.
I think.
Sorry, just saying that there are really tough games in there. Um, I think I think one that could be maybe a bit of a slip up is Ammonia as well. They've got a bit of a tendency to surprise teams in Europe. So
Yeah.
just it's an interesting draw for Hearts, definitely.
Yeah, I think Hearts. I think there's fixtures there that Hearts can have confidence going into, and I think Hearts can have a good go at it. If their form stays the way it has been, obviously they'll be expected to lose every game. But um, if Stephen Naismith can turn it round, and if he can't turn it round to get a new manager in, that gets the team going, I think they can have a good go at it. I think maybe Heidenheim are a step too far. They're top of the Bundesliga now. It is only 2 games in though, but I'm pretty sure they're top. Maybe Copenhagen looked pretty good against Marnock, but maybe not the same Copenhagen from
I
a year ago.
disagree with that. I don't think they were
Well,
good against Kilmarnock.
As would I.
no, no, I didn't think they looked. They didn't look like the normal Copenhagen that you get used to seeing in Europe. But I think they're maybe just a cut above Hearts. I think, but I think the rest of the teams, Hearts can have a good go against.
I don't mean to be all like disagreeing with you all the time, but I think they can have a good go at Copenhagen as well.
No,
Because
no, yeah, I think
if
they
it,
can have a good
They,
go.
they absolutely can. I mean, and right, please, I know you jump anything. I mean, biased here. As much as Kelly maybe wouldn't have got through the tie on Thursday night, I think we were unfortunate not to beat them on the night.
Yeah,
You
me
know,
too. I thought you were unfortunate not to beat them on the night. I thought the away leg as well, that light goal was extremely harsh because you
yeah,
defended really, really well in that game. It was a
yeah,
brilliant strike that ultimately undone you. But
yeah,
yeah, I think Hearts could definitely. I get what you were trying to say, Ethan. I'm not saying
Mm,
you're way off or whatever. I'm just saying
yeah,
I think they're definitely in it if they can up their form. But yeah, exciting times for Scottish clubs in Europe. 3 teams in 3 different competitions. Hopefully they all do well. Hopefully they make it through to the following rounds and then maybe make a run of things. But yeah, I think that's unless you've got any of you have anything else. I think that'll be us for this
no,
week.
I
We'll
think
wrap
that's
it
good.
up.
I don't think
Laurie?
that's us.
That's us. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you to everyone for listening to the Dugout podcast, listening and watching on YouTube. We really appreciate you tuning in and listening to us. Make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Go follow us on Twitter at the Dugout 2024. We've been extremely active on there recently. Myself on deadline day. I was knackered by the end of it, but I got through it in the end. And yeah, it's exciting times right now. I'm really enjoying this with my 2 pals. And it's I feel like we're picking up a little bit. So we really hope you enjoy it, and we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.